The people have remarked about there's a certain quality of being alone when you look at my work. It comes through. But that you can't help. It's a natural thing. It's part of you, that's all. You breathe that kind of air, lonely air. It comes because of a background of having experienced it a great deal when you're very young, and it sort of penetrates into your body and it stays with you. The sense that you're alone in the world. Because I was brought up on the New England coast, and as a child very much alone, and as a young person, adolescent, very much alone. Alone in the sense of wanting to be an artist where no one's interested, and it was not a period that was very, you might say, supportive. Mm-hmm. You had to do it on your own, because to be an artist you have to have a very strong temperament and drive, because it's not something that society is going to award you or looking for you. You're on your own when you're an artist, particularly if you're an artist that comes from families that know nothing about art and not interested. You have to be on your own. You have to really fight your way through to be recognized as a serious artist. My work is based upon the emotions towards the object and the stimulation that comes from it, and that inspires my beginning an image. The image is important, but the image has to be restructured to fit the frame of ideas that I have. And within that frame is a whole new world. It works if the painting is good. The painting is strong. That tones down the emotion, because the painting takes over. It's the way the colors work, the forms, and how they structure each other, how they speak to each other. Then it becomes exciting from just an aesthetic visual view, and that tones down the story.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
That's very important. The story doesn't take over at all. The painting should take over. The way you enjoy the colors, the way I put it together, should be an enjoyment, visually. In the 50s was the great expressionist period. We were on the opposite end of expressionism. And it was a very difficult period for us. Mm-hmm. Because expressionism was the order of the day, and if you weren't expressionist, you didn't count for much. And this is in 1955. Between about 1950 and 55, I worked a great deal on small pieces of paper. It could be an envelope, it could be anything, but it had to be small. And within that small area, I could see the whole thing very quickly. And I developed all these small sketches. And once they developed, and I thought they looked good, I kept enlarging them into larger forms. When we had our child, the owner, I made what I call the modern mother and child. My Madonnas, I call them a modern Madonna, is that they're not like the ancient Madonnas where the child used to cling to the mother and so forth. The child is by itself related to the woman, the mother, but has its own personality. So I took the child away from the mother in a sense, yet I tied them together organically, structurally. The child is not alone, the mother's still there, but the child is by itself. And I made the child with arms up above his head so that the child is like one single unit. It's very important the way I design these things and how I feel them. So there's a lot of abstract movements. I mean, if you look at that painting, it's probably more abstract than any abstract painting. That's the thing that people never understand, never see that in my work. Tension points, where points become very tense, then go on. There's stretching points, points where the forms push apart, the points where forms come together again. My figurative work is no different than my abstract work as far as the language is concerned. The language of the tone and so forth, it has to be measured. It's not just putting down a black or white or gray or cool or warm. It's how they relate to other forms. Tension is very important in my work, and so it isn't just flat. It's sort of like the idea of forms coming up against each other and kind of tantalizing each other, but they move away again and become their own shape and form. Another thing that's going on a great deal today is sort of a flimsy cartoon-like quality in the work of so many painters. They don't have that depth of history in their work. But then you have to look at it this way. That's the way I see it. I've raised in a more classical way of thinking. And so classicism is a very important word to use when you associate my work with history. It's classical in nature. It's quite different. It has a dignity. The dignity of forms are very necessary. Because I was always trying to organize the world around me rather than just simply make a sketch of it and leave it at that. In other words, I wanted to go way beyond that and sort of make a world that had like a body, a weight to it. The earth was heavy, the ocean was heavy, the sky was heavy, everything had a certain structure to it. And that dominated my thinking and my work, and everything I did is how do you make it really work together? Everybody's excited about the time they live in. Well, okay, that's fine. But in the end, whatever art that might survive should be timeless in the sense it attracts the next generation or the generations later on. So that's what it's all about, to go beyond your own generation.